Hello game developers, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Game On. I am your host, Todd Kerpelman, on the Play Games Developer Relations team, and we're going to jump right into this week's episode. So you know how last week we had two presentations and we didn't really have any news and updates? Well, this time around we're doing the reverse. We don't have any presentations, but it's all news and updates. It's our exciting news and updates episode, and let's just get right to it. So first we're going to start by talking about game services statistics. We've just started introducing some basic game services stats into the Google Play Developer Console. You can see an example here. We're looking at a couple of sample games that we have available. On this front page here, you can see the number of people who have signed into your game using Play Game Services. You'll notice, don't get confused by the column header players. That's a little misleading. This isn't people who are playing your game, but players who have signed into game services with your game. The actual number of people playing your game is probably going to be larger than this. Also, if you go into your achievement screen within game services, you will now see a percentage complete stat. These are the number of players who have signed in who have earned this achievement. So this is a really good way to look and see if there are any achievements that are too difficult to get. So we're looking at Bruno's sample game here, Firewall Defense, and you can see that there are a number of achievements where the percent complete is basically 0. And so he's probably made those achievements too hard. This is a common trap for all you game developers. You play your game for weeks on end, you understand how it works inside and out, and achievements that seem really easy for you to get are very difficult for your average player. So this is a good way to go back and just kind of sanity check your assumptions and see if those achievements really are as easy or as difficult as you thought they were. In addition, you will now be able to see the number of unique players who have submitted a score to each of your leaderboards. And this is useful if, say, you have different leaderboards for different levels. You suddenly have an idea of how many people have completed each one of your different levels, because obviously you can see the number of score completions for each one of those. So I know that by themselves, these stats are, they're interesting, but they might be data that you already have if you're using any kind of third-party analytics tool already. But I think maybe the interesting point here is that we have all the plumbing now attached so that we can get data from the Play Game Services down to the developer console and up to you, the game developer. So what we have here is a pretty nice start, and more importantly, we have a nice foundation for us to start showing you a lot more interesting statistics regarding game services. So now we've got kind of all the plumbing hooked up and we've got a few basic things in there, expect to see some more stats from us in the future. And so, I don't know, I think this is kind of cool. Hopefully you do too. In addition, we've just launched Game Insights on the developer console. We call it Game Insights because mistakes that you're making sounds kind of negative, but that's kind of what these are. These are our way of alerting you to errors in your game that you might not notice as a developer. One of the most important being that your game has exceeded the rate limit. For some reason, you're calling achievements.increment too often, or there's some bug in your program that's calling some method on a loop that it shouldn't be. In the past, these are very hard for you to detect, right? You have to kind of look for status codes being returned from your client and maybe log those somewhere or something. If this is happening in the wild, it's very hard for you as a developer to know what's going on. So now if we notice that your app is getting throttled, we immediately give you an alert in the developer console. So look for those. In addition, you can look for, I think probably our most common error that we see happening with game developers is that you've published an update to your game, but you forgot to hit publish in the game services section. What that means is that you've got games out there that are trying to, for instance, complete an achievement or submit scores to a leaderboard, and your game services are not published, and the system says, oh wait, I don't want to make these available yet, and it rejects those calls. What I think is actually particularly tricky about this particular error is that game services will allow calls from anybody who is on the tester list, which probably includes you, the game developer. So you might have people saying, hey, I can't earn this achievement, what's wrong? And you try it out and you say, it looks fine to me. That's because you're on the tester list, you're able to submit or complete achievements to non-published achievements and leaderboards, and normal players cannot. And so this error does get does happen a lot, and a lot of developers miss this. And so now we surface this as well on the developer console if this happens to you. And there's a third error, a little less common, but there are times when your game tries to unlock an achievement or submit a score to a leaderboard and the ID is incorrect. And again, that's probably something where you would get back an error in the client, but it's a little hard for that error to get sent to you, the developer, or at least it was in the past. Now, when we notice this is happening a lot, we will alert you and you'll start to see, oh, okay, my application apparently is trying to unlock this achievement that doesn't exist. Maybe I did a copy and paste error or something. You can start looking into that. So go to, be sure to go and visit the developer console, look for these alerts. They will come in very handy. In addition, we are now giving you twice the cloud. So we have this service, Cloud Save, generally designed for games, which is a very simple, hey, just save my data to the cloud, load it somewhere else. It's great if you've got developers or if you've got players that are playing your game on multiple devices. They can carry their progress from one device to the next. And in the past, we had 4 slots of 128K available to you. And now, check out these effects. Bam! We're moving to 4 slots of 256K each. So that's twice the cloud. That's 1,024K total. Hopefully that's enough for you to save a pretty decent save game file. So make use of that. And finally, there is a new Google Plus iOS SDK. This is not specifically related to game services. This is related to anything you would want to do with Google Plus. So you non-game developers as well, if you're looking to share anything on Google Plus, this is relevant to you too. There are a number of enhancements to this SDK, but the biggest thing you'll notice is the native share box. It used to be that if you wanted to share something from a game or an application to Google Plus, you had to basically switch out of your app or your game and over into a browser, mobile Safari, something like that, so that you could share on Google Plus. And it wasn't a great experience, right? I mean, you left your app to go into a browser so that you could post this thing. So now the new experience, ooh, got some more effects there, is much nicer. This is a native share box, so it basically pops up within your application. The user doesn't have to leave it. They don't have to swap out, and they can share directly through Google Plus from there. In addition, this native share box has some features that let you upload and share a photo or a video. This is great for you game developers. You can take a screenshot of your game and you can add that in to the native share box and share right there. So it makes for a much more interesting post when someone can share exactly the cool thing that's happening in their game when they share this stuff. So we will update our sample code to show you how to do that. Make sure to view the Google Plus documentation. It basically gives you all the code snippets you'll need to get that working. Also watch out, by the way, there are I think 4 new frameworks that you're going to have to add into your application that you didn't have to before. Again, all of that is available on the Google Plus documentation side of things. So if you want more information, you can check that out. And I believe that concludes this week's episode of Game On. Go to your developer console, check out those stats. I think it's pretty interesting, and we will see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, game developers.